The great orbital station called Aurelian Prime floated like a shining city between stars. It was a place where different species gathered to build alliances, trade knowledge, and create peace after centuries of conflict. Today, however, the station felt more like a stage prepared for a grand spectacle. Thousands of visitors had arrived to witness a rare event, an interspecies bonding ceremony where a human would choose a bride from among powerful alien candidates. Humans had only recently joined the Galactic Alliance, but their reputation had spread quickly. Many species saw humans as emotional, unpredictable, and strangely brave. Some admired them, while others watched them carefully, unsure whether humans were allies or future rivals. The human selected for the ceremony was a young man named Adrian Hale. He stood quietly near the viewing window of a preparation chamber, looking out at the endless stars. Unlike many participants who showed excitement or nervousness openly, Adrian appeared calm. He observed everything carefully, storing details in his mind. Behind him, attendants from different species moved around, preparing ceremonial garments and explaining traditions. Their voices blended together, but Adrian listened respectfully, even when he did not fully understand every cultural rule. "This ceremony will influence multiple political alliances," one advisor said gently. "Your choice carries weight far beyond personal preference." Adrian nodded. He had heard this many times already. To the Alliance, this was more than a marriage. It was a symbol of unity between species. Still, he believed that no alliance could succeed without honesty. Outside the chamber, massive halls filled with representatives from dozens of worlds. Elegant alien nobles wore elaborate clothing designed to display their status and heritage. Cameras floated silently, ready to broadcast the moment across countless star systems. Among the candidates waiting for selection were individuals considered exceptional by their cultures. Some were known for beauty, others for intelligence or military strength. Many assumed that the human would choose based on appearance or political advantage. One alien woman stood at the center of attention. She was tall and graceful, her skin glowing faintly like starlight. Every movement she made seemed perfectly calculated. Another candidate possessed shimmering wings and spoke with a voice so musical that listeners often forgot their own thoughts. Each of them represented powerful families, eager to strengthen their influence through this union. Near the edge of the gathering stood someone very different. She was known as Lyra. Unlike the others, she did not draw attention with dramatic gestures or bright colors. Her posture was tense, her eyes constantly scanning the room as if searching for hidden threats. Members of her species were known for deep emotional bonds and strong protective instincts. Unfortunately, those instincts were often described by outsiders as jealousy or possessiveness. Many whispered about her quietly. "She is unstable. She reacts too strongly," another added. Lyra heard the whispers, but said nothing. She had learned long ago that defending herself rarely changed opinions. She remained still, watching, waiting, expecting disappointment. When Adrian finally entered the main hall, silence spread across the crowd. He walked slowly, guided by ceremonial lights that marked his path. Instead of looking directly at the most admired candidates, he allowed his gaze to move naturally across the room, studying everyone equally. The first introductions began. Each candidate stepped forward one by one. They spoke about their achievements, their cultures, and what they could offer in a partnership. Some described vast territories or fleets under their influence. Others focused on elegance and compatibility. Adrian listened carefully. He asked simple questions, not about power or wealth, but about personal values. How did they handle conflict? What did loyalty mean to them? How did they respond when someone failed or made mistakes? Some candidates answered with rehearsed perfection. Their words sounded beautiful but distant.
as if chosen to impress rather than reveal truth.
When Lyra's turn came, the atmosphere shifted slightly. She stepped forward hesitantly, aware of the watching crowd. Her voice was steady but quiet. "I do not expect to be chosen," she said honestly. "My people form deep bonds. Sometimes that creates fear in others. I am protective, perhaps too much." A few observers exchanged knowing looks. Adrian tilted his head slightly, interested. "Why did you come if you believe you will not be chosen?" he asked gently. Lyra hesitated before answering, because honesty deserves at least one attempt. Unlike others, she did not attempt to present herself as flawless. She spoke as someone prepared for rejection, but unwilling to hide who she was. After the formal introductions, private conversations were allowed. Adrian moved through different chambers, speaking with each candidate individually. Some meetings felt like negotiations. Representatives discussed alliances, trade routes, or military cooperation. Adrian listened politely but felt something missing: sincerity. When he finally met Lyra privately, she stood near a window, watching ships pass slowly outside. "You should know," she said without turning. "Many believe I will create problems for you." "I have heard many opinions today," Adrian replied calmly. "I prefer to form my own." She turned toward him, surprise visible in her eyes. "You should not choose me. I become protective."
"If I care deeply, I struggle with sharing attention. That is considered weakness."
"Honesty," Adrian said quietly. "Oh." Lyra frowned slightly, confused by his response. He asked her about her past, her goals, and what she feared most. She answered openly, describing her desire to belong somewhere, without being judged for instincts she could not fully control. Their conversation lasted longer than expected. Neither noticed when attendants began calling participants back to the main hall. The selection ceremony began soon after. Lights dimmed, and the audience fell silent. One by one, holographic images of the candidates appeared above the stage. The announcer spoke in a clear voice that echoed through the chamber. Human Representative Adrian Hale will now make his choice. Many assumed the outcome already. Eyes shifted toward the most elegant candidates, confident in their status. Adrian stepped forward slowly. He looked across the crowd, seeing anticipation, curiosity, and hidden tension. He remembered the conversations, the rehearsed answers, the hidden expectations. Then he remembered Lyra's honesty, her warning that she might not be easy, her willingness to reveal her flaws without excuses. He took a deep breath. "I choose Lyra," he said clearly. For a moment, complete silence filled the hall. Then whispers erupted like a wave. Shock spread through the audience. Some nobles looked offended, others fascinated. Lyra herself froze, unable to move. She stared at him, as if trying to understand whether she had heard correctly. Adrian stepped closer, extending his hand. "If you accept." Her eyes searched his face for doubt or hidden motives. She found none, only calm certainty. Slowly, she reached forward and placed her hand in his. The ceremony continued formally, but tension filled the air. Representatives from powerful factions exchanged quiet messages, clearly displeased. Cameras captured every reaction. Afterward, when they finally stood alone in a quiet corridor, Lyra spoke softly. "Why?" she asked. "There were better choices, safer ones." Adrian smiled gently. "Because you were the only one who did not try to pretend." She looked down, unsure how to respond. Outside, beyond the windows, stars continued their silent motion. Inside the station, however, the consequences of his decision were already beginning to unfold. Political shifts, hidden resentment, and challenges neither of them fully understood yet. Lyra felt both fear and something unfamiliar, hope. and as they walked together toward their new future, many across the galaxy watched, wondering whether the human had made a mistake, or whether he had just changed everything. The moment Adrian chose Lyra, the atmosphere across Aurelian Prime changed completely. What had started as a celebration turned into quiet tension, hidden behind polite smiles. Nobles spoke carefully, but their eyes revealed disappointment and curiosity. Many had expected the human to follow predictable patterns, to choose beauty, status, or political strength. Instead, he had chosen someone known for emotional intensity and a reputation others avoided. Lyra walked beside Adrian through long corridors lined with glowing panels that displayed shifting star maps. She moved carefully, aware that every camera followed them. Every movement she made felt heavy, as if the entire galaxy watched for her to fail. "You regret it already," she said quietly without looking at him. Adrian slowed his pace slightly. "No, you do not need to pretend," she replied. "They are already whispering." He noticed how her eyes moved constantly, tracking nearby individuals, searching for hidden judgment. Her shoulders remained tense, ready for criticism. "They whispered before I chose you too," he said calmly.
"That did not change my decision." She hesitated, unsure how to answer.
His calmness confused her more than anger would have. She expected doubt or hesitation, not steady acceptance. Their new living quarters were located near the diplomatic wing, a space designed to represent unity between cultures. The rooms adapted automatically to both species' needs, adjusting temperature and lighting. Lyra stood near the entrance, unsure whether she belonged there. "This place feels temporary," she said. "Everything feels temporary at first," Adrian replied. She watched him carefully. Humans fascinated her because they moved forward even when uncertain. Her own instincts told her to prepare for loss, to protect herself before rejection arrived. News of their bond spread quickly. Messages arrived from multiple representatives requesting meetings. Some expressed polite congratulations, while others disguised criticism as concern. During their first official appearance together, Lyra felt the weight of every stare. Elegant alien women who had been candidates before watched from a distance. Their expressions remained polite, but subtle tension filled the room. One approached them, smiling gracefully. "Human Adrian," she said, "your decision surprised many. We hope it brings stability." Lyra sensed hidden meaning behind the words. Her instincts sharpened immediately. She moved slightly closer to Adrian without realizing it. The noble noticed the movement and raised an eyebrow slightly. "Protective already," she said softly. Lyra felt heat rise in her chest. She wanted to respond sharply, but remembered Adrian's calm presence beside her. "We appreciate your concern," Adrian replied gently, redirecting the conversation before tension grew. After the noble left, Lyra exhaled slowly. "She was testing me." "Yes," Adrian said. "And you passed. I almost did not." That is normal. His simple acceptance surprised her again. She had expected lectures or disappointment. Instead, he treated her reactions as something natural rather than shameful. Over the next days, Lyra struggled with unfamiliar feelings. Whenever Adrian spoke with others, especially former candidates, she felt a tight pressure inside her chest. Her species bonded deeply once commitment began. The fear of losing him appeared suddenly and intensely. One evening during a diplomatic gathering, she noticed a graceful alien woman speaking closely with Adrian. They laughed softly, sharing a cultural joke. The sight triggered something sharp within her. She stepped forward quickly, interrupting the conversation without thinking. "We should leave," she said to Adrian, her voice more firm than intended. The other woman looked slightly surprised, but stepped back politely. Adrian noticed the tension immediately. Outside the hall, Lyra stopped walking and crossed her arms, struggling to control her emotions.
I warned you, she said. I become difficult. You become honest, he corrected gently. No! I become afraid.
Adrian considered her words carefully. Fear does not make you weak. It just shows you care about something important. She looked at him, uncertain how to process his calm response. No one had ever described her instincts without criticism. Meanwhile, unseen forces watched their relationship closely. A powerful faction within the alliance believed Adrian's choice threatened traditional expectations. They began spreading subtle rumors, suggesting that Lyra's jealousy made her unstable. Messages circulated quietly, questioning whether she could represent unity. During a council meeting, one representative spoke openly. Emotional imbalance may create diplomatic risks. Lyra felt every eye turned toward her. Her instinct urged her to defend herself strongly, but she hesitated. Before she could respond, Adrian stood calmly. Understanding emotions is not imbalance, he said. Ignoring them creates more danger. The room fell silent. His defense surprised many. Later, Lyra confronted him privately. You risk your reputation by protecting me. I chose you knowing who you are, he replied simply. She stared at him, feeling a strange warmth mixed with fear. Trust felt unfamiliar and fragile. Days passed, and their bond slowly deepened. Adrian encouraged her to speak openly, instead of hiding feelings. He explained human concepts of communication, where expressing fear could strengthen relationships rather than damage them. One evening, while watching ships pass outside their window, she spoke quietly. When my people bond, losing that bond feels like losing part of ourselves, she said. That is why we guard it fiercely. That sounds like strength, Adrian said. She blinked slowly. No one had ever described it that way. However, tension across the station continued growing. Anonymous messages began appearing on public networks, highlighting moments when Lyra acted protective. Edited recordings exaggerated her reactions, making them appear aggressive. Lyra saw one of these broadcasts and froze. The comments beneath it mocked her openly. I knew this would happen, she whispered. Adrian placed a hand gently on her shoulder. Someone wants you to doubt yourself. Her eyes narrowed slightly. You think this is intentional? Yes. The realization changed something inside her. Instead of feeling ashamed, she felt focused. Someone was trying to manipulate her reputation. Together, they began investigating quietly. Patterns emerged showing that certain political groups benefited from discrediting their bond. During another public event, a representative confronted Lyra directly, provoking her with subtle insults. The crowd watched closely, expecting an emotional reaction. Lyra felt the familiar pressure rising, but she remembered Adrian's words. She paused, breathed slowly, and answered calmly instead of reacting instantly. The crowd murmured in surprise. Later, Adrian smiled slightly. You handled that well. I wanted to react differently, she admitted. But you chose your response. For the first time, she felt control instead of shame. Still, danger approached. Hidden enemies prepared a larger plan, hoping to push her into a public mistake that would destroy both their reputations. As they walked together through the station's gardens, Lyra suddenly felt watched. Her instincts told her something was wrong. Someone is trying to separate us, she said quietly. Adrian nodded. Then we stay together. The stars outside shimmered softly, as if listening to their promise. Unseen observers adjusted their plans, realizing the humans' loyalty was stronger than expected. The game had only begun, and the next move would test not only Lyra's emotions, but the strength of their growing trust. The days following the rumors became heavier for Lyra and Adrian. What once felt like curiosity from others slowly turned into silent judgment. Every hallway conversation stopped when they approached. Every diplomatic gathering felt like a hidden test. Lyra could feel eyes on her constantly, waiting for a mistake. She had learned to control her reactions better, but control did not erase emotion. It only made the struggle quieter. Adrian noticed the change immediately. She spoke less during public events, choosing silence over risk. Her posture remained straight, but tension lived in every movement. One evening, as they walked through a quiet observation corridor filled with floating lights, Lyra stopped suddenly. "They are waiting for me to fail," she said softly. "Some of them are," Adrian answered honestly. "You say it like it does not matter." "It matters," he replied, "but their expectations do not decide who you are." She looked at him, searching for doubt in his expression. She found none. Behind the calm atmosphere of the station, hidden strategies moved silently. A powerful, noble faction had begun manipulating events more aggressively. Their goal was simple: provoke Lyra into an emotional outburst in front of the council. One mistake would justify removing her from diplomatic status and weaken the human's influence. The first trap came during a cultural exchange ceremony. Representatives from many species gathered in a large hall filled with music and shared traditions. Lyra remained close to Adrian, observing everything carefully. A former candidate approached Adrian again, speaking warmly and laughing lightly. She moved closer than necessary, clearly aware that Lyra watched. Lyra felt the familiar tightening in her chest. Her instincts told her to step forward, to protect what she feared losing. For a moment, she almost reacted, but she stopped herself. Remembering their conversations, instead, she waited. The noblewoman turned toward Lyra with a polite smile that did not reach her eyes. "Your restraint is impressive," she said softly. This was intentional.
"I am learning," she replied calmly.
The noble seemed slightly disappointed. She left soon after.
Adrian leaned closer. "You saw through it."
"Yes," Lyra said quietly.
But it still hurts.
He nodded.
Pain does not disappear just because we understand it.
Later that night, they discovered a new broadcast spreading edited images again.
This time, the footage showed moments taken out of context, making Lyra appear hostile. Comments from anonymous accounts questioned whether humans were capable of choosing stable partners. Lyra watched silently. Her hands trembled slightly.
"I do not want to be your weakness," she said. "You are not," Adrian replied immediately.
You defend me every time.
"I defend truth," he said gently, "and I stand beside the person I chose." The next major council meeting arrived sooner than expected. Representatives gathered in a massive chamber where decisions influenced entire star systems. Lyra sensed danger even before they entered. During the session, a high-ranking noble stood and presented a formal concern. Holographic displays appeared, showing the manipulated recordings.
"These actions demonstrate emotional instability," the noble said calmly. "Such behavior may create risk during negotiations."
The room grew quiet. Many eyes turned toward Lyra, expecting a reaction. Her heartbeat accelerated. Anger and fear fought for control inside her. She felt the urge to defend herself strongly, to reject the accusations loudly. Before she could speak, Adrian stood. His voice remained calm, but firm.
"You present edited moments without context. Anyone can be made to appear unstable when only fragments are shown." The noble smiled slightly.
"Are you suggesting the evidence is false?"
"I am suggesting it is incomplete,"
Adrian answered. He turned toward the council. "Humans believe strength is not the absence of emotion. Strength is choosing how to respond when emotions exist." The chamber fell silent again. "Lyra has never hidden who she is," he continued. "She speaks honestly about her struggles."
"Many of you hide yours behind perfection."
Murmurs spread through the audience. Lyra felt something shift inside her. Hearing him speak without hesitation filled her with unexpected warmth. He was not trying to reshape her into someone else. He accepted her completely. Another representative challenged him.
And if her emotions cause diplomatic failure?
Adrian answered without hesitation. Then we learn together. But removing honesty from leadership will create greater danger than any emotion ever could. His words lingered in the air long after he finished. For the first time since the rumors began, some members of the council looked thoughtful instead of critical. After the meeting, Lyra felt overwhelmed. She walked quickly into a quiet garden filled with glowing plants, trying to calm her thoughts.
"You should not risk yourself for me," she said when Adrian joined her.
"I am not risking anything," he replied. "I am building something." She turned toward him slowly. "Why are humans like this? You accept flaws so easily." He smiled slightly.
We do not accept flaws easily. We just understand that everyone has them.
She looked away, processing his words deeply. Soon after, they uncovered evidence revealing who was behind the manipulation. A powerful noble who feared that emotional bonds between species would weaken traditional control structures. If humans proved that authenticity created stronger alliances, many old systems would lose influence. The realization changed everything. Lyra no longer saw herself as the problem. She was the target because she represented something new. During another public event, a sudden crisis erupted when a technical failure caused panic among attendees. Crowds began moving chaotically. Several individuals froze, unsure how to react. Lyra stepped forward instinctively. Her protective nature activated, but this time it felt different. Focused, controlled. She guided frightened individuals calmly, directing them toward safe exits. Her voice remained steady despite the chaos. Observers watched in surprise. The same instincts once called jealous now appeared as strong leadership. Adrian watched with quiet pride as she moved through the crowd with confidence. After the situation stabilized, whispers changed tone. Some began questioning whether they had judged her too quickly. Later, standing together under dim lights, Lyra spoke softly. I felt afraid, but also clear.
You trusted yourself,
Adrian said. Yes, she answered slowly. And I trusted you. Their connection deepened in that moment, no longer defined by doubt, but by shared growth. However, the conspiracy was not fully finished. Those behind it prepared one final attempt to break them. A challenge that would force Lyra to confront her deepest fear, losing him. As distant stars shimmered outside the station, the stage was set for the final confrontation, one that would determine whether their bond could truly change the galaxy's expectations or collapse under pressure. The atmosphere on Aurelian Prime felt different after the crisis in the council hall. Some attitudes had begun to change, but not everyone accepted the new direction quietly. Hidden resentment still existed, waiting for the right moment to strike. Lyra stood near the wide observation window inside their quarters, watching distant ships move slowly across the darkness of space. The stars felt closer than ever, yet her thoughts felt heavy. She knew someone was preparing one final move against them. Her instincts told her danger was near. Adrian entered the room quietly and stood beside her without speaking. He had learned that silence sometimes helped more than words.
They will try again, she said softly.
Yes, he replied calmly. She turned toward him, her eyes serious.
And this time they will aim at you. Adrian did not deny it. The conspiracy had already shifted focus. After failing to destroy her reputation directly,
now rumors began targeting him instead. Some claimed he had been manipulated emotionally. Others suggested he had damaged political stability through personal decisions. Lyra felt anger rise, but she controlled it carefully.
I will not allow them to harm you,
she said. He smiled gently. We will face it together. The next council gathering was announced sooner than expected. Representatives from across the alliance would attend. Officially, it was described as a review of diplomatic protocols, but Lyra sensed something deeper. As they entered the grand chamber, tension filled the air like a silent storm. Representatives whispered among themselves, and floating cameras hovered near the ceiling. A high-ranking noble stood and began speaking calmly, presenting a new proposal. According to him, emotional compatibility assessments should determine whether interspecies bonds remained valid. The suggestion sounded logical on the surface, but clearly targeted Lyra. If emotional instability threatens unity, the noble said, we must consider re-evaluation. Lyra felt every gaze move toward her again. Her heart raced, but this time fear did not control her. She remembered everything she had learned: trust, communication, and patience. Before Adrian could stand, she stepped forward herself. The room grew quiet instantly. I will speak, she said calmly. Her voice carried across the chamber, steady and clear.
I was called jealous, she continued. I was called unstable. Some still believe that. She paused, allowing the words to settle.
My species forms deep bonds. We feel loss strongly. We protect what we love fiercely. Many see that as weakness because it is difficult to understand. Several representatives listened carefully. I once believed I had to hide these feelings, she said. But I learned that hiding truth creates greater danger. Her eyes moved briefly toward Adrian, drawing strength from his presence.
I do not deny my nature, she continued. I accept it, and I choose how to act.
The noble who proposed the review watched her closely, clearly surprised by her calm confidence.
You fear emotional bonds because they cannot be controlled by tradition, Lyra said gently.
But unity built on fear is fragile. Murmurs spread through the hall. Adrian watched silently, allowing her to lead. Pride filled his expression. A representative raised a question. And what if jealousy leads to conflict? Lyra answered without hesitation.
Then, communication prevents conflict. Growth prevents conflict.
Loyalty prevents conflict. Removing emotion entirely does not create peace. It creates distance. Her words felt simple but powerful. For the first time, many council members nodded in agreement. The noble who opposed them tried one final tactic. Perhaps the human feels pressured to defend you. Before Adrian could respond, Lyra spoke again. He is not controlled, she said firmly. He chose me knowing everything. Adrian finally stepped forward beside her.
And I would choose her again,
he said calmly. Silence filled the chamber. His voice carried quiet strength.
Humans do not search for perfection.
We search for truth. We grow stronger by facing challenges together instead of pretending they do not exist. The atmosphere shifted visibly. Some representatives who had remained neutral now appeared supportive. Evidence of the conspiracy was presented. Soon after, hidden communications revealed attempts to provoke Lyra deliberately and manipulate public perception. The noble who orchestrated the plan could not deny the proof. The council reacted strongly. Trust had been broken, and many realized how close they had come to judging unfairly. As the meeting ended, the proposal to reevaluate their bond collapsed completely. Outside the chamber, reporters and observers gathered, eager to witness their reaction. Lyra felt lighter than she had since the beginning of the ceremony. Not because everyone accepted her, but because she no longer needed universal approval. Later, during a quiet moment in the station gardens, she turned toward Adrian.
I was afraid you would grow tired of my struggles, she admitted softly.
I chose you because of your strength, he said. She smiled, faintly. Even the jealous parts? Especially the honest parts. She laughed quietly, the sound soft and genuine. Days passed, and their relationship began influencing wider discussions across the alliance. Other species started talking openly about emotional differences rather than hiding them. Cultural exchanges changed slowly, guided by new understanding. A final ceremony was held weeks later to celebrate strengthened unity between species. This time, the atmosphere felt warmer, more sincere. Lyra stood beside Adrian as lights reflected softly around them. Instead of whispers of doubt, many approached with respect. She realized that her reputation had changed. Not because she became someone else, but because she learned to guide her instincts rather than fight them. As the ceremony ended, they walked together toward the observation deck where their journey had truly begun. Stars stretched endlessly before them. "Do you ever regret choosing me?" she asked quietly. He shook his head. "No." She watched the stars for a moment, feeling calm. "They expected you to choose beauty," she said. "I did," Adrian replied, gently. She looked at him, confused. "You," he added. For the first time since the beginning of their story, Lyra felt completely at peace. Not because the galaxy approved, but because she had found someone who saw her fully, and stayed anyway. And across the Alliance, their partnership became a quiet legend, reminding others that sometimes the strongest bonds were not built from perfection, but from honesty, courage, and the willingness to grow together.